online. You can take a look at it in great detail. Now, out of the total $3.7 billion that the White House has requested, most of that money would go to Health and Human Services for children in detention centers in the U.S. The rest of the money to the Department of Homeland Security to increase border protection. So some of that border protection there that some of the callers have been mentioning. And some money to the Department of Justice for more judges to process some of these cases more quickly. Back to your phone calls. And we've got, let's see, it looks like Donald on the line from Durand, Wisconsin for Independence. Hi, Donald. What do you think?
Well, you know, our societies today are a lot different than they were 20 years ago. I feel sorry for every one of these children, but that's not the point. I agree with the people that just were on. But I would get after Mexico and have them take care of their southern border. It's smaller than our Texas, Arizona, and California, and I'd have them and stop giving Mexico money, you know, appropriate money to them until they do this. That would cut down probably on 50 to 60%. And also, what we forget, we don't need the National Guard, but under our Constitution, if we're being under siege, which we really are, we can have, what do they call it, the militia called up. Mm-hmm. And that can come from all the states, and they can accumulate on the border. You get sworn in and help the Border Patrol, Texas Rangers, if that's the case. But humanely, we gotta. You got to feel sorry for them, but their countries need to. We give money to all these countries, millions and millions of dollars every year, and all it does is just filter into somebody's pocket. It doesn't get to the people.
All right, thanks, Donald. On the Republican line, we've got Lewis in Bartlesville. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yes, I believe in humanitarian too, but we have all these illegal immigrants over here already that we are taking care of. And I don't think we need any more. We've got children right here in the United States going hungry. And I think the United States needs to take those children at the border and send them right back. And let those countries over there know that we are no free lunch over here.
I'm taking your calls on unaccompanied immigrant children crossing the border into the U.S. The Washington Post reports on some of the politics here at home. The border crisis scrambling the politics of immigration policy. Republicans and some Democrats accusing President Obama of being insufficiently engaged in this issue. Until now, the politics of immigration have been seen as a no-lose proposition for President Obama and the Democrats if they could get a comprehensive overhaul passed. The current crisis changes that dynamic. The Democrats now deeply divided over what should be done. And Wes is on the line in Rogers, Arizona, on the Independence line, or Rogers, Arkansas. Sorry, Wes, go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that the current administration's response is inadequate. I believe that it does constitute a invasion. I wonder how they would feel if we emptied out our prisons and sent them to the borders in buses and forced them across the borders to invade their country.
Now, what do you think further steps, the U.S., in terms of what it's doing now and maybe steps on the other side of the border here?
Well, I think steps on the other side of the border need to come in the form of an economic embargo. Mm-hmm. We need to stop sending money in the form of aid and in the form of our jobs over there. It's kind of curious at how, they list Honduras as being one of the nations that's the key chief contributor. And because of the criminal activity in Honduras and Mexico with the drug lords and the cartels, that the very first people to flee the countries to in search of prosperity in America is the able-bodied man.
Calling from Marina, California, Kathy's on the line for Republicans. And Kathy, what do you think about this issue at the border? Some of your thoughts.
My thoughts are, I understand the Democrats and Obama also are talking about the Senate bill that was passed. And the Republicans have ideas of first securing the border. That was what was supposed to happen after Reagan gave amnesty in the 80s, and it never did. There is border money that's in the bill that was passed by the Senate, but people have to understand the money, the millions of dollars to set up border security, is only to be spent at the discretion of the Homeland Security chief. Now, of course, what happens is if a bill like that is ever passed through the House also and signed into law, that discretion will be put on the back burner. and then for whatever reason, like it has been for decades now, the border will not be secured. So that's why that Senate bill is no good. We do need to secure the borders. If they were secure, then how would the children be getting in anyway? Obama has made it so that the border security people are told to stay back by a mile or so away from the border. That's how these children with adults, and by the way, most of them have adults. It's only a small portion that are by themselves as children. And according to what I understand from the law, if adults are present, then you can process them and send them right back. It's only the unaccompanied children that must be kept, and that's all because of the bill that was passed in the 80s for child trafficking, which I can understand. But these ones that have adults with them, they should just be processed. Now, Obama also has given the directive that if anybody's here, whether it's Mexico or Canada or wherever, the law is they should be processed and sent back, but he's just giving them a slip of paper and saying, come back and, you'll have your official deportation hearing. And if they're not criminals, if they don't have a criminal background, they're just being released out into society, and people have to understand this.
Now, well, Kathy, let's take a look at some of what's happening on Capitol Hill. A tweet from Chad Pergram on some of the response from the congressional delegation of Texas. Of course, a border state, Senator John Cornyn and Congressman Henry Cuellar prepping a bill to alter the 2008 Trafficking Victims Protection Act, and that would treat all unaccompanied minors equally. President Obama met also last week with Texas Governor Rick Perry, and he talked about the president's response this morning on Fox News Sunday. Here's some of what he had to say.
Well, I appreciate the time that the president gave me. I think it was important for him to take time and to listen to what is really going on the border. I do think he should go to the border himself and take a look at this, just like some of his Democrat colleagues and a number of us on the Republican side want him to. As I look at that piece of legislation, it is a very large amount of money, and as you analyze it, very little of it is for border security. And I think until he gets realistic about the problem and how you deal with the problem, and it is a border security issue. And we've got a track record now of 5+ years of him disregarding what's going on the border. So here's his opportunity to truly lead. Don't blame this on anyone. Be a leader, lay out a plan, and I will suggest actually the president doesn't have to have this big amount of money. He could pick up the phone today, call the DOD, and direct them to have those 1,000 National Guard troops on the border.
So in other words, Governor, you don't particularly support the bill, and you're not going to be encouraging your delegation to pass it. Is that a fair assessment?
I think you have distilled the correct answer.
And taking your calls on the Republican line, Patricia in Smyrna, Georgia. Patricia, what do you think about this issue going on at the border?
Patricia, I'm calling on the Democratic line.
Oh, sorry, Democratic line. Go ahead, Patricia.
First of all, it's a multi-complex problem. The first thing I think we do need to do, and I did vote for the president both terms, is to revise the law. I understand the humanitarian capacity that this country takes towards people who have been violated within our country and without, but the human trafficking and violence prevention law, actually what it does is it gives the cartel the incentive to scam the parents in their countries, so that the parents will believe that, first of all, the children are not going to be violated, but they are going to come to America because we have some very, very progressive laws on providing services to children.
Now, Patricia, any idea of how to prevent that from happening? The cartels taking advantage.
The way to is, first of all, the money should go towards Border Patrol. Mm-hmm. Second, the large majority of the money should go towards Border Patrol. Secondly, we do not need to build more detention centers, because that means, first of all, that we're taking the children in. And once they're in our country, then the laws apply. Thirdly, to prove the cartels wrong. Well, first of all, the cartels know that they're not going. Okay, they promised the parents that that the children are going to arrive safely. However, to ensure that the children are allowed into our country under the domestic violence and the human trafficking law, they actually do violate those children so that the children are telling correct stories by the time they get here. That's to ensure that they come in under that law.
All right, Patricia. And Myrna's waiting on the line in Monmouth, Illinois for Republicans. Myrna, what are your thoughts?
Myra,
go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it's a horrible thing right now that these kids are abused so badly, but I really don't think they're walking across the continent. I think they're on buses and in cars and trucks and everything else, getting them through the border, which I believe, and I have always believed, needs to be fiercely defended. And if I was able to, I would willingly go and volunteer my help with these children to see, President Obama needs to go and see. Why are you sitting on his coattails? I don't know.
All right. Some tweets here. National Journal says that President Obama's plan to deal with unaccompanied minors is aggravating immigration advocates. You can read more details at nationaljournal.com. And some tweets from Time from reporter Zeke Miller about what some governors are saying. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says that the surge of unaccompanied minors is a symptom of Washington punting on immigration reform. And then Democratic Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley says we can't send children back to death. Now, those two governors, of course, potential rivals in the presidential race in 2016. Back to your calls. Daniel's on the line, Galway, New York, for Independence. Daniel, what are your thoughts about the border crisis?
Well, I don't understand how everybody's looking at these children and saying, well, we're just going to send you back. For Christ, they're children. I mean, any good human with a good heart that sees a child that is in need of food, a good home, a warm bed, a loving shoulder, how can you turn that down? What kind of people are you? I open my door to as many children as I could possibly get, whether it's from Mexico, Africa, China. I mean, any child. I mean, how can you do this? What kind of society are we? This is a free country? I mean, everybody in this country, I'm Native American and Mexican, was what this country is derived of. And how can you, all the rest of you are all immigrants to begin with. And how can you turn around and say that these children should be turned at the border and not given refuge? I mean, I can't believe society where they'll put $1 in front of human life. I mean, what does this society become? I'm ashamed to call myself a member of the United States of America if they turn their backs to these children.
Thanks, Daniel, for your call. We're going to get one last call in here. Kathy's in Garden City on the Republicans line. And Kathy, share your thoughts with us.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm behind Daniel. I'm so glad I'm behind you, Daniel. I live in western Kansas, in the liberal Garden City and Dodge City area. We are overwhelmed by illegal people. They had to spend $99 million on a school, Daniel, to give them their free education in this country. We buy their diapers. We pay for their milk. We give them babysitting. Guess what's happening to the American citizens in this area, Daniel? We have to leave because we can't afford our taxes.
And Kathy, what do you want to see happen?
I want them sent back. I want to stay in my home. My home's going on the market for sale because I can't afford my taxes. You ought to see my home. I'm a citizen. I worked hard here all my life. I'd like to keep my home. And I got to get out, Daniel, because I can't afford my taxes. Because we have too many illegal people in our town. They're bringing us disease. Our citizens don't even want to go to the school. It's total illegal. $99 million school.
All right, Kathy, thanks for your call as well. Appreciate all the calls today. And if you didn't get a chance to share your thoughts, phone line's going to be back open tomorrow morning on Washington Journal. We'll start off with National Journal's Fawn Johnson and more on the latest efforts to ease this border crisis. We'll also be hearing from Wall Street Journal reporter Stephanie Armour about people who've signed up for health care but who still haven't gotten coverage because of glitches in the system. And then Virginia Secretary of Transportation Aubrey Lane will discuss the role of the Highway Trust Fund and whether it's going to run out of money by the end of the summer. We'll also take your Facebook comments and tweets. All of that on Washington Journal tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Eastern.